All right, to the phones we go. Canton, Missouri. Dan is on the line there. Dan, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken, thank you very much. Good to talk to you. And my wife and I listen to you quite frequently on WGEM 105 FM in Quincy, Illinois.
Hey, we love it. Thank you, sir.
And we're really blessed by the information you have. I know where I want to go. I'm struggling exactly how to get there.
Okay, great. Tell me where you want to go, and we're going to come up with a path or two.
Okay. Well, I have a history of journalism.
Okay.
And we're no longer in community newspapers, but I've long had it in my heart to start a magazine. And I'm trying to figure out how to best do that. I've read your book. I've read Dave Ramsey's Entrepreneur Leadership, and I need to read them again. But I'm trying to come up with a business plan now.
Yeah, sure.
For this.
Okay.
And I'm looking at some other resources as far as how to start a business.
Okay.
One concern I had, though, is, I hear so many of the great callers on your show that have I want to save the world career dream.
Yeah.
And that's mine is less altruistic than that, and I just want to make sure that I'm still on the right path, even though I can justify a lot of good things with what I want to do. But I don't know that it's going to be feeding dozens or training dozens or anything like that.
Doesn't need to, and that's
Thank you.
That's a false.
I thought that, but I just needed to hear that.
No, see, it isn't less altruistic because their altruism is not your altruism.
Okay.
You've always wanted to start a magazine. Tell me what the magazine is going. Who's the audience, and what is the magazine going to do for the audience?
The audience would be people that love museums. And in Missouri, we have a lot of museums and historical sites, and there are already some magazines out there that do some of this. But I would like to focus just on magazines of all types: children's museums, fire museums, military museums.
Great. Is there a magazine or some type of a journal that already is kind of, if you do your research and you look all around the world, they're kind of the best version of what you would like to do? I mean, obviously yours is the best version, but they're the closest thing to what you're thinking about. Does that exist?
Yes, I see some of those. There's one of them that's an online presence only. The other one is a print and online, and I used to subscribe to the print one. Okay. What would you do?
Do you have and you don't have to answer this for the sake of time, but I want to know if you've done the homework of saying, here's what's missing. In fact, do you have something to write with? I want to give you something that'll be really helpful to you. You got something to write with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do if you haven't done this. So let me ask you if you've done this, and then if you haven't, this is what you do. So there's 4 questions that I want you to ask, and it's basically what is right about those magazines in your opinion, or the online one? What is wrong? What is missing? What is confused? So the what is right, what is wrong is simply not an ethical thing. It's just, what are they doing that you think is good? What are they doing right? What are they doing that you think is wrong? Meaning, just, I don't know why they focus on that. Or they're missing something, but sorry, that's the wrong part. Then I got ahead of myself. Then what's missing? What are they not covering? And then what is confused? And it's a wonderful grid for you to create. It's almost like literally on a piece of paper, you would do 4 columns. What is right? What is wrong? What is missing? What is confused? Have you done that for those 2 that you just outlined?
I haven't done it in writing as far as
great
as these 4, but I've done kind of what they are already doing.
Right, but I want you to do those 4 things so that you already know what they're doing, what's right, what's wrong, what's missing, what's confused. I want you to do that for the print magazine and then the online one, okay?
Okay.
That's a start.
All right.
And here's what happens. When you do that, then you're going to be able to, I hope, objectively look at the paper and go, can I do something that is unique from those 2, where I would stand out for the same audience? Because they're trying to reach the same audience. They are reaching the audience that you want to reach.
Right.
So can you produce something that is uniquely different?
and I think I can.
I think you can too, but I want you to know how. Not just think it. I want you to know it. Do you see the difference?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm dropping gold on you, Dan, right now. I'm saving you a lot of headache. So do that first. All right. Now, when you do that, we know, okay, now I know what kind of magazine I want to do specifically. So then we worry about the business proposition. And that is, okay, what is it going to cost me to get this thing up and running? You got to do your research on that. You know, maybe you talk to some magazine owners, if you can, in the state of Missouri that aren't competitors to you. They won't be competitors, so they're going to be much more willing to open up the balance sheet and kind of say, well, here's what it takes. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
That's the proximity principle, my book that you've read. You want to get around some people, whether it be in person in Missouri or just around the country if you can get on the phone with them or whatever. You really want to talk to somebody who's doing it pretty well. Because I will tell you, the magazine business is very tough. And you're going to hear that as you talk to people that are doing it or have done it. It's a tough business because everything is online these days. So if you want to do a print magazine, you better do your homework and say, what does distribution need to look like? What do advertisers need to look like for me to be able to make sense for printing something, as opposed to doing an online version where you don't have any cost of goods, in the sense of you're not printing anything.
Right.
So I think you got to really weigh that. Maybe there's an online combo app deal. That's where you end up going.
And I have considered that a little bit. I know that in a lot of stores, like the Walmarts and even some bookstores, they still have a lot of magazines.
They do, but you got to do your homework on that, right?
Okay.
So you need to know before you launch this thing, what does distribution need to look like for me to be able to then sell advertisers? Because if I don't have advertisers in my magazine, the only income I have is the subscription itself. Well, what's that subscription model need to look like? How many subscribers would I need to have to generate profitability? And then how much advertising percentage of my revenue? These are things that you can find out. You can do your homework on this, but you've got to know this before you launch. Right. Certainly the physical side. You do not have to know that to launch it digitally. Maybe you launch it digitally first and then go the physical route. But you're asking me, how do I get it started? Well, before you start the business, you got to have a really clear idea of what it's going to take to succeed. And then how much money is that going to cost me for capital infusion to get it going? Because I don't want you taking out a loan. You should never do that. Certainly in a magazine business, it's too risky. So how do you get it going? What are the phases of that? How much is that going to cost me? How long is it going to take me to do that? Can I do that on the side? Because this business is not going to pay the bills. If you need this business to pay the bills, then I wouldn't start it until you don't need it, until it's just all side hustle. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
No, sir. You've given me a lot of good homework here, and I appreciate that.
Hey, just do that, and it's going to become very apparent to you how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, with who to do it with. And that's all that this takes, is a relentless pursuit of information, folks. Here's what happens. Dan starts this call, and he's a little bit fearful. Why is he fearful? Because he doesn't have any answers. The absence of knowledge reminds us how much we don't know. And then the fear of the unknown is a very gripping fear that will paralyze the best of us and sideline some of the best business ideas in the world that have never shown up, never made it. Why? Because when you just sit by yourself and wonder about the business, but you have no idea what it would take to get it up and running, what it would take to succeed, what it would take to sustain, then it's a vacuum in your head. And that's a dangerous place, because your brain is designed to protect you, and it will protect you by going, that doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't make sense in the sense if you were to start it without knowing any of those things. Of course it doesn't make sense. Your brain's doing its job there. Go get answers. Get knowledge. That helps.